Welcome to Forensic Friday,
where we examine the intersection of true crime, psychology, and the heart of being human in the middle of it all.
whole thing.
I know. This is like a great way to be set up, though.
I know.
Your office is so pretty.
I know. We need to record in here more.
We really do. That's okay. I can deal with 225. Today, I was driving the Nats up 225, which is the wild, wild west of highways. And there's this like low rider, very small pickup truck. And then there's a couch strapped to it and a mattress. Like the load was bigger than the car. And I'm behind it in my new car, like, no. It's a little scary, but you know what? It's fine. It's all fine. It's not that bad of a drive, honestly. It's not. We're what, an hour apart, basically?
Yeah.
The office is kind of halfway for both of us, but it's not that bad.
It's like an hour and 15.
Yeah, something like that. It's not too bad.
So today,
tell them what we're doing.
We are gonna do this thing called Johari Window.
Johari Window.
It's my favorite.
It's Nat's favorite. We have been teaching this for
ever. 10
almost
years.
10 years.
Yeah.
Yes. And it is really, really great. And I like how Nat teaches it better than me because I always draw the chart wrong every time.
And it drives me nuts.
I know. And I'll be in front of the whole group and I'm like, wait, but known to who?
Yeah.
So Nat's going to explain it. I'll just have a little extra color commentary.
Yes. And I always butcher this part because I don't know why I always do this in group, but I do it and then I fail every time.
Oh, yeah.
So I try to always start with talking about who the creators are, but I never remember their names and I don't remember their names.
Isn't it Johari?
No, there's two.
Oh, is Johari one of the two?
No, it's their names combined.
Oh.
I'm gonna have to look this up now.
I know. We gotta get the names for you of who made it.
Creators.
It sounds weird, but it's actually a really cool way to organize some things in our brains around self-awareness, sharing, all of that.
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
It's Joseph Luft and Harrington Ingham.
Joe.
Hari.
Yay!
I knew it was like a combination of their names.
Yes.
I just can never remember the names. So Joseph Luft and Harrington Ingham.
Well, thanks for that, guys. Are they alive or dead?
Johari. They're dead.
Oh, well, thanks anyway. What a legacy.
They're dead.
We pull this thing all the time. And you know, one of the times when we tend to pull this out is when maybe we have people struggling with self-awareness or really hesitant to share.
Yeah.
I would say those are the two times we pull this out the most in group. And then obviously in individual sessions too. So we want to teach it to you today and hopefully help you integrate this in your own reflection of who you are and what you're sharing with your people.
Yep. Yeah. Like Janine said, it is the one of, in my opinion, the best tools to learn about the concept of self-awareness and how to gain more of it. I think a lot of us tend to think that we're really self-aware when we might actually not be. And it's important for us to lean into how do we gain more of that. And it's not just thinking more and sitting by yourself more. It's actually quite the opposite. So we're going to dive into that here in a little bit. So here's the Johari window. Janine did us a wonderful drawing of what it looks like. I don't have a whiteboard in here. That is next on my list.
But a legal pad.
But we got a legal pad.
Yes.
So we have our open window, okay, which is known to self, known to others. Okay, so what would be an example for you, Janine, that's like tends to be open? Like in your open window.
I mean, I'm open about quite a few things. I would say I'm open about how much I love being a therapist. I tell anyone who will listen how much I love this work.
Yeah.
And you know what? I've shared with everyone, including the podcast, that I have ADHD.
Yeah.
And that was not always something, that's actually a really good example.
Yeah.
Because nobody knew.
Like mental
health. Then I think other people knew. And now I know and tell everyone.
Yes.
We're
So
going to
it
use
became-
this as an example.
We are. We're going to come back to this.
We're going to come back to that. But I
Uh-huh.
would say the fact that I have ADHD
Yes. Good.
is now open.
So things that tend to be in individuals' open window are things like that, potentially, right?
Mhm.
Not always. Some people don't like to share some of the things that they might have a diagnosis in, or mental health or physical health stuff, which we'll get into. But open stuff tends to be stuff that's easy for us to share, right? So
Easy to share or observe. Like I have blonde hair. That would
Yes.
be another open.
Exactly.
Yes.
So easier things to do both. Hidden is known to self, unknown by others. Okay. So as it is described, right? I know what's in my hidden box, other people don't. So examples of this might be, again, mental health, criminal history,
Trauma.
trauma, a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
A lot of things that we don't necessarily want to share, addiction, stuff like that. That could be in the hidden.
Even just feelings. We tend to hide how we feel.
Yep.
Yeah.
The next box is our blind box, which is unknown to self. Okay. This one's my most favorite
It's
box.
my favorite too.
Unknown to self, known to others. So the example I always use is if you've ever been in a room and that one person walks in who's like, has zero self-awareness, and you're like, oh
Yes.
my gosh, that person's here. And you just like, everyone just knows, but they don't know that
Totally.
they're that person. So that's what the blind box is other people see these things, I might not see it. So some examples could also be similar to hidden, could be addiction, right? Which if you go back to one of our other episodes, we talk about stages of change. Someone could be blind to their addiction because they're not ready to make a change. So that's
Yes.
called the, pre-contemplation stage for stages of change, but I might be blind to that, right? I don't have a problem. That's what that looks like. But other people know that I do.
Also, blind can be a lack of awareness of how we show up in the world. So
Yes.
Nat and I have to do quite a bit of work with this with clients, let alone ourselves.
Yeah.
But maybe somebody doesn't realize that they are aggressive or appear aggressive. Maybe somebody doesn't realize they hold all their tension in their face. And that creates kind of a distancing effect with other people. And they can't figure out what's going on. And nobody's looked at them and been like, it's your face.
Right.
It's actually your face. It's not a bad face.
I was probably just doing that actually thinking.
But yeah, I mean, RBF fits in this,
Yep.
etc.
Yes. And then the last boxes are unknown. Okay. So unknown to self, unknown by others. Okay. So these are things that we find out kind of as we go. As we build more self-awareness, some of the unknown things might become more known or more open. One of the examples I always use when I'm teaching this in group is kind of a fun, low-key, not super dramatic example. I didn't know if I would like ice fishing or not, and my husband didn't know if I'd like ice fishing or not. I tried it, and I am mildly mediocre to ice fishing. Right?
Mediocre at ice fishing or mediocrely
into
excited about it or into it?
Mediocrely into it.
Yes.
I will go if my sister-in-law Arliss goes.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say.
That makes sense.
So our unknown is, again, unknown to others, unknown to self, but we can find some of this stuff out by trying new things, exploring new things, being more open to things or sharing hard stuff, whatever. So the goal with the Johari window that a lot of people don't fully agree with, which I totally understand why, is the goal is to, and I'm going to mark up this page, Janine's beautiful picture.
Oh, you're fine. Go for it.
The goal is to have, and you won't be able to see this on our screen, but that's okay, a bigger open box, open window. Okay. So you can maybe see that there, and I'll show Janine, that there's this dotted line that cuts into blind, unknown, and hidden. Okay.
Yep.
There is still space in those boxes because we're always going to be exploring, right? And sometimes, especially in our hidden, there's some things that we just don't want to share unless it's with a therapist. It shouldn't be in the open for
With
like
everyone.
the general human population.
Right.
right? So there are some things that we are going to keep more hidden. We are always going to be learning about ourselves. So we're always going to have some room in the blind. And again, same thing with the unknown, right? So it's not, the goal isn't necessarily to create this whole thing as an open box or an open area, but it's to increase it. So Janine, question for you. How do you think we create a bigger open? Well, actually, let me go back.
Okay.
Why do you think people don't always love that the model of Johari Window is to have a bigger open box?
I would say our clients almost universally have an issue with that because
Yes.
they have lots of reasons not to trust and not to share.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe information has been used against them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they've lost people that they really loved and shared a lot
Mm-hmm.
with. It just feels counterintuitive sometimes to share more with other people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So a lot of times people don't want that open box, really, from what the first thing you said is because they don't want it to be used against them.
Yeah.
And they've experienced that. Or they've just surrounded themselves with individuals who they don't know this, but aren't necessarily the healthiest humans.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So even if it maybe doesn't get used against them, it's still not the safest to share. Right? So the reason why it is important actually to have a bigger open box is because we build more self-awareness that way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I always tell my clients in my groups, the Natalie you see in here is the same Natalie outside of here.
Yeah, I can testify.
Yeah.
I think we're both rolling in pretty authentic to how we are
Yeah, to
every day,
every
for better or
situation.
worse. Yeah.
Which, has its good pluses and minuses, I'm sure, but
Oh, yeah.
Well,
it's like that TikTok I shared with you the other day that shows like a therapist in their first session and then a therapist 5 years in and then a therapist 10 years
yes.
in, right? And it's funny because there are differences.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
we learn this as therapists just like our clients learn this.
Yes.
We have to learn to share more of ourselves and show up more authentically in the world too.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's not always about, there's going to be a few different avenues that I go with this. It's not always about the factual stuff to share that makes us open. Okay. So again, I tell my people, the Natalie you see here is the Natalie that shows up everywhere else. I don't have different hats that I put on. But what is different is the factual, the facts about me of what I bring to each circle I'm in, I guess, if that's the best way to say it. So what I mean by that is my clients aren't going to know that many things about me because that's inappropriate, right? But my friends and my family and my therapist are all going to know a lot more about me, right? Again, though, it doesn't change how I show up, right? So I'm still a really open human. And I'll still share hard stuff if it's relevant with my clients, if it helps them, right? Like that's totally fine as well. So it doesn't always mean that I'm sharing everything. I always say it in this way. So there's a difference between being transparent and like I've been saying, sharing facts about yourself, right? So I can be a transparent human without sharing everything about myself. I can also share everything about myself without being a transparent human.
Yes.
So what that looks like oftentimes, and this falls into the blind, is I'll have people say, well, ask me anything. I'm an open book.
Right.
And I can ask them anything and they'll share anything. But it doesn't mean that I'm getting to know them as who they are because there's a part of them that's being honest and open, but they're not showing up to the table as themselves.
That's right.
They're not sharing their emotion behind it. They're not sharing about their experience of how they interpreted that experience. They're just sharing facts.
Yeah, and projecting things however they want to do that.
Yep.
Which can be extraordinarily frustrating, like in couples therapy, where you have two people coming in, and if they're performative, we get this like version of them that's not a real version, which is why part of the open area getting bigger over time comes with disclosure, not just from the client or the person, but also from other people.
Yep.
So the reason that groups is one of the best ways to treat domestic violence, substance abuse, all those things is because of feedback.
Yes.
Because the blind areas hobble us in ways that are really challenging in our lives. And again, like it says, it's blind. We don't know why this keeps happening.
Yep.
Why does no one want to go on a second date? No one tells us.
Yep.
Nobody's told us. And our society is really bad at giving gentle, constructive feedback. We wait. We say nothing. And then when we're mad, we say everything.
Everything. Yep. So some of the ways, my friends, to create a bigger open box is a few things. One, we have to be willing to be a little bit more vulnerable. Okay, so what that means is I have to be willing to bring some of what I keep in my hidden box into the open, right? So when I used to work in drug court or with addiction, a lot of times people would keep their struggles hidden. And when they would start to bring them into the open, whether it was in groups, like Janine said, or even an individual, I'd be like, oh my gosh, you make so much more sense to me.
Yes.
And then I could share something in their blind that they might not know.
Right.
And I can help connect a box for them. Or connect a box. Connect a line.
Connect the dots?
Connect the dots. Why is this so hard?
Your Natalieisms are on point all the time.
All the time.
Yes.
Y'all haven't even heard of half of them. So I can start to connect the dots for them, right? So they bring something into the hidden. I'm going to make up an example. Let's just say that they experienced something really hard when they were young, and then they went to a party and drank. Okay. And so they're like, this was the experience that I went through. I went to a party with some friends, had fun, and here I am, right? So now we're in the blind. Here I am in drug court or in substance abuse groups, and I don't really know why I'm here. Okay, well, we started drinking or doing substances, which is in the hidden, at a really young age because of a situation that you've never really talked about. And then we learned, oh, that makes me feel better. So now we're struggling with something that we don't really feel like is a struggle, if you will, but it is because it got us into trouble. So now we've connected a hidden thing and a blind thing, and it's helped it to be in the open.
Yes.
Does that make sense, Janine?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the foundation of building relationships.
Yep.
We talk so much about building a better support system. Whether you're in therapy or not, we need good people in our lives, and we need to connect with those people well to be healthy. And we cannot do that if we don't share. We have to share with other people in an appropriate way.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. And same thing with the unknown box, like I was saying, right? Unknown, again, the more we start to open, in my opinion, and you share with me what you think.
Yeah.
When we start to share more what's here, we are going to naturally expand these two.
Yeah.
Okay, because people, especially if we're sharing with safe people who really care about us are going to be like, oh my gosh, you do this thing, and now I get why you do the thing.
Yes.
Right? And then I might be like, I didn't even know I did the thing.
Yes.
Right? But now I know I do the thing because of what I just shared with you.
Well, and this is where my ADHD example fits in super well. Because I've had quirks for a very long time. I knew this. We shared this in our ADHD episode. Then when I started sharing this with even more people, including like my doctor, she goes, you might have ADHD. I go home and tell my husband, he starts laughing.
He's like,
it was
this
in
is
my
news?
blind area.
This is news for you?
Yes, I was the last to know.
Yes.
I asked him again the other day. I was like, are you sure I'm not just making a mountain out of a molehill? And he's like, no. You've been ADHD every day I've known you. That's a real thing.
Yep.
And so I think it takes a combination of sharing, receiving feedback, and then also exploring with safe people, whether it's in therapy or in relationships, to do this. We need all of it. We need all of it.
Yes.
And we need to be a part of this with other people.
Yep.
So if you have friendships where you're both just broadcast about yourselves and you never really ask questions, it takes a little bit of work to shift those relationships, but it can be really rewarding.
Yes. One of the things that I love telling people to do is I'll tell them, I want you to go ask like some of your closest friends, like pick 3, and ask them, what are some things that you see in me that I might not see? Sometimes we don't always want to know the answers.
Yeah, it's scary.
So be willing to get feedback. And you can ask them, hey, I need you to say this gently
Yeah.
because I'm trying to become more self-aware.
I'm fragile, but I'm trying.
Yes. But I would encourage you guys to ask people in your life, hey, what are some things that you think I might not know about myself? Right? And they might be willing to share some of the things that they see. And you might know it, and it might be in your hidden, or you don't know it. And you're like, oh, well, that's really helpful to know.
That's right.
Right? I'm going to spend a little bit of time here at the end on the unknown square because this one kind of gets shafted because it's unknown, right? But similar to these other two, right? And like I shared with my ice fishing example, we have to be willing to try new things to bring even the unknown into the open.
Yeah.
Right? So it might be unknown that that I struggle with communication, or that I'm passive, right? Aggressive individuals, people who communicate more aggressively, that's usually in their blind. But passive individuals, it might be in their unknown, that they're passive communicators, because they feel like they're just chill, and other people feel like they're just chill, but in reality, they just might not be addressing the thing.
That's right.
Right? So when we start to open up some of this stuff, it naturally is going to help these other two squares over here. So I hope this was helpful for you all. Again, this is a really, in my opinion, logically easy way to go about building self-awareness. Building self-awareness is not easy. But this example or this model helps us understand it, I think, a little bit easier and better, so that we can start to build that within ourselves. And y'all, it strengthens your relationships with your partners, with your friends, at work, everything. This type of stuff, when we start to dive into this, can help in all areas of your life.
Yeah, a couple takeaways. Number one, even like in the next week, explore sharing a little bit more deeply with the people in your life, particularly your partner, if you have a partner. Ask people, like Nat was saying, especially, let's say you're running into the same problem over and over again. Take the vulnerable step of choosing a safe person, if you have one. If not, call therapist.
Yep.
And ask, why does this keep happening? Do you have any insight for me?
Yep.
And then in the unknown, gosh, I'm such a stream of consciousness journaler. I think also, like Nat said, trying new things, but also learning. You guys listening to this might help you learn something new. It was unknown to you previously, and maybe unknown to the people in your life. So when you share this with them, this now goes into something that they know.
Yep.
So it can happen fast. The awareness can grow and our knowledge base can grow very quickly when we start taking some of those steps.
Yep.
So thanks for joining us. Thanks, Nat, for presenting.
Yeah. I hope this was helpful for you guys. And as always,
bye, forensic friends.
I'm Janine.
And I'm Nat.
And as always, thanks for listening, and join us next week for more crime, psychology, and heart.